name is Charles Malki, biologist and plant expert with Variegated, where we grow cool plants, and today I'm happy to share another giveaway that was from a few months back, which includes the variegated pumpkin as well as some California native sunflower seeds, and I'm also including some California poppy seeds to as many people as I can. I want to share with you, if you come in a little closer, what I have here first, and then I'm going to show you how to prepare these seeds for success. The first thing that I have over here are these sunflower pack, not sunflowers, but these are the pumpkin seeds that I prepared. And I want you to take a look that some of them unfortunately had a little bit of rot on them. And I'm going to show you that I ended up taking some of the worst, most rotted seeds and was able to successfully germinate them. So I wanted to test this out in advance, and I'm going to show you what I did for success. So these are the variegated pumpkins. Before we go further, let's go back in time to when we talked about recycling your Halloween pumpkins, but making sure that those pumpkins don't end up in your trash, and instead that you recycle those back into the garden for maximum spring and summer success of your trees. And I explained all of that in a video, which I'll put the link to towards the end, and I'll also put it down in the comments down below. But let me share with you just briefly how beautiful this pumpkin is. Check this out. Just in the process of cleaning up, and I came across this one, which you may have seen in the video earlier. Check out the colors of this with the green and the orange and the cream white colors of this pumpkin. And this one I've just cleaned out. So when preparing your seed, if you come in a little closer, as I mentioned, a couple of them have some rot spots on them. The reason that happened was because as I was drying the seeds out by day 2 or 3, I basically didn't have enough air circulation around it, and that resulted in the seeds basically rotting. I immediately corrected it once I saw it and allowed it to continue to dry over the next couple of weeks. And then after the 3rd or 4th week, what I did was I put the seeds in these plastic bags, and you can see I even put a piece of paper towel within it to continue absorbing any moisture that may still possibly remain as I ship these to you. So these are on the way as of today's date, which is February. So all of these will be shipping out to you. For those of you that send me the emails, I would say I'm close to about 90% of you I was able to fulfill your request with the seeds I was able to gather. But those will go out on February 26th, Monday, February 26th. And I'm going to give you some helpful tips on getting these off again to a wonderful start. So these are your pumpkin seeds. Some of you will get the California poppy seeds. These are the pictures of the actual flower. And these here are the seeds. You can see there's about 100 seeds in there. And then what I have over here is a box of these sunflowers. And these are California native sunflowers. And I'm going to show you what to look for when planting these as well. And you can see, similarly, I've got the flowers in there. Originally, they're in this container, all of the flower heads. And for those of you that are saying, you know, the seeds are out there for the birds, just to let you know, the birds got a good 80 to 90% of the seeds. I was fortunate enough to harvest what I could. And in harvesting, what I did was I took about 8 to 10, 12 flowers. Some of them, you know, were only half flowers because, again, they were eaten by the birds. And what I did was basically combine all of those flowers together to create one seed pack. So each seed pack is basically derived from about 8 to 12 other flowers. And I'll show you how to identify the seeds that are within here. And I guess, but before we do, what I want to do is I want to take you to the corner where I last had these sunflowers and show you just how beautiful these plants are and what a wonderful addition these are for, 1, color, and 2, for attracting those beneficial insects that'll benefit your garden. And lastly, being that we're here in California and we're planting our California natives, I've said this many times throughout the year, and I always share this with a lot of the videos that we teach on, is that it's important to dedicate at least 5 to 10% of your garden to California native plants. If you're in California, if you're in other states, try to find those plants that are native to your area to basically offer those insects and those birds that live in your area the plants that they are accustomed to over the last millions of years. And the goal is to create an island of habitat. Habitat is home for all of those insects and birds, and basically an entire food chain that surrounds your home and your community. So Again, I'm hoping most of these end up in California homes, but there have been requests across the country that will at least enjoy the benefits of these beautiful flowers, and also attracting a lot of pollinators that'll then benefit your fruits and vegetables within the garden as well. But again, let's go to the corner where I had these flowers just a few months ago. Check this out. And today I wanted to do a special thank you to all of you viewers, special thank you to all of those YouTubers and Instagrammers and Twitters and Facebookers that have been sharing the Ivory Organics products with their fan base. And what I wanted to offer, and as you can see behind me, is this sunflower plant, which is a California native sunflower, which I picked up the seeds from the Theodore Payne Foundation here in Los Angeles, which specializes in thousands. There's actually up to 5,000 specific California native plants that you can plant. I'll talk about the benefits in just a minute, but this here is one of my favorite additions, and I've said this many times in many videos about the importance of dedicating a small percentage of your garden, if not a large percentage of your garden, to planting the California natives to help support and sustain your habitat and your local habitat in your community. I'm talking about California native, assuming that you're in California, but if you're in Arizona, you're going to be looking for your Arizona natives. If you're in Mexico, you're going to be looking for your Mexico natives. And no matter where you are in the country, you're going to be looking for those native plants that are the foundation to the entire food web of life that surrounds you and your community. So this year I've introduced into our garden is a California native sunflower plant, and what I'm offering you is I want to share for those that are interested in having this beautiful plant in your garden. So here you can see is this passion fruit vine that's really taken over, but I'm right at that same spot that we just saw those beautiful sunflowers between my air conditioning unit and then the wall over here, and just overhead about 8 to 10 feet tall, we allowed these beautiful California native sunflowers just soar. You can manage the height by continuously pruning it down, but we allowed it to grow as this was a space that was available to it. Since that plant has been removed, this passion fruit vine has taken over. We're in the process of repotting that as well, or reconfiguring, or even possibly gifting this vine behind me, as we've propagated a few too many for this garden for this growing season. But anyways, let's get back to starting to plant these seedlings and giving you some advice on maximizing your success with germinating these seeds. Let's get back. So here we are with one of the seed packs of the California native sunflowers. I was fortunate enough that one of the seeds of the sunflower landed right on top of an obvious location. It's right there on top of that paper towel. You can see it looks exactly like what a sunflower seed would be, but extremely small. They're very tiny seeds. What I've done here with this piece of paper is just to show you that I think within each pack there might be 5 or 10 seeds. Most of the contents are just plant or flower parts. So if we pull this all out, I'm hoping to just help you so that when you receive this, you can concentrate on making sure that you get some seeds into that planting zone, which we're going to do together. And now I'm just going to take the tip of my scissors and I'll point out to you, this one actually has quite a few seeds. If you take a look here, you can see that there's one seed right there, second seed, third seed, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm guessing, ballparking in this pack, there's probably close to 20 seeds in there. I'm going to put the, again, paper towel back in there to help continue with any absorption if there's any moisture in there until it ships to you. I'm going to put all the contents back in here. And we'll pull this out when we get ready. Now let's prepare the potting. What we're going to do to get started is we're simply going to just take our plastic cup method. We use this also when propagating our fig cuttings as well. And what we're going to do is just simply take a cup like this. So to simply just take a plastic cup, the goal personally is to use one that's clear so you can actually watch the root development within as well. But what we're going to do is just simply take the cup. I'm going here with my scissors and I'm just cutting a couple of holes at the bottom. And what that's going to do is it's going to help with allowing the water to pass so it doesn't rot the our soil medium. And then in regards to the soil, my preference, especially when using these microscopic seeds such as these, which are comparable to what's even smaller would be like lettuce and radishes and some of the finest seeds, the best way to cover them is using a product such as this. And this here is just vermiculite. You can forget about the brand name, but vermiculite is pretty much made out of like volcanic rock that's been puffed. And you can see like it's got this beautiful goldish color, and it's as light as popcorn. And the reason for using this product is, and we can read the label here, it says it improves moisture and nutrient retention in potting mixes and gardening soil, aids in faster seed germination, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. Prevents soil compaction and includes aeration. And being that it's so fine and light, it's not going to interfere with these tiny seeds' ability to germinate. And the goal with this is to create like a nice, very thin 1/8, 1/4 of an inch coat over the seeds, and then we're going to plant that. So again, this is the cup that we've put those little holes near the bottom. We're now going to basically fill up the cup close to the top with the vermiculite. So we've got that here. What we're going to do is, I'm hoping you can now see the soil. Let's put that closer to the sun. Let's get some more light right there. And now we're going to take our seeds. So let's prepare this one more time. And the goal is to skip out on the larger parts and try to focus on the smaller parts. And over here again, I can see that I've got quite a few seeds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's probably about 10 seeds right in there. And so what I'm going to do is just try to scatter that across the surface in random places across the top. Again, some of the flower parts can go in there, that's fine. And now what we'll do is add a little bit of a cover, but I want you to see how lightly we cover the surface. Again, the goal is to do about a 1/4 to 1/8 cover. Like that. And then we're going to just carefully water it. A better way than watering it from the top is to simply take the water, and this now is the second cup with no holes at the bottom, and we're going to do the same thing. And you can see I've just added about a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch of water by placing this cup with the holes on top of the cup with water without the holes. You can see that the water level is going down, down, down as that water is being absorbed by that vermiculite, and that'll basically keep the entire seed area moist, and that'll help it seed. If you remove the cup after a day or two and you see that it's empty, just simply add some more water. Again, no more than a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch at a time, and that'll water all the way through the top. If you've got a fine mister, it's a good idea to also maybe apply some water from the top, but be very careful with watering at the beginning to make sure that those seeds stay at the right level for maximum germination, being about a 1/4 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch below the soil surface. When it comes to the pumpkin seeds, being that they're larger, you can plant them a lot deeper, anywhere from about a 1/2 inch to an inch deep. And what we're going to do here with the pumpkins is the same process. So we're going to do this a little quicker, and what we'll do is we'll take our cup here, we're going to put 2 to 3 holes near the bottom, we'll fill it up with vermiculite. We're leaving about an inch to the top. We're going to go here with our pumpkin seeds. I'm only going to take 2 seeds away from this particular grower. So we're going to go 1, 2. You can put up to 2 per cup. You'll see with what I've demonstrated inside my house that we did 2 on one plant. We got 2 on another pot or another cup where I did 2 seeds. We ended up with 1 of them germinating. So just to let you know. And then we're going to go here with our vermiculite seed cover, and you can see how much more we're going to add in this situation. So we can add a good 1/2 inch to an inch cover, and we'll water that down. And again, we can water from the top, or my preference, and especially when you're watering this course, if you've got a more fine way of watering, and again, this is too much water, the goal is about a ½ inch to a ¼ inch of water near the bottom at a time. And you can see that the water level is right now at my fingertips, going down and going down as the soil takes up that water. So we're going to notice between now and the next hour or two, most of that water is going to be taken up by that dry vermiculite. And then every day or two, we're just going to monitor that water level to make sure that there's some moisture that's passing through the solution, but make sure that that water level is not too high, otherwise it's going to drown the seed. You want to make sure that that water level is near that bottom 1/2, 1/4, 1/3, and the same applies to your fig cuttings as well. So we've just demonstrated all of this. The one thing I noticed that I've got seeds on over here are these poppy seeds. Same thing as applies with the California native sunflowers. The goal is 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch of cover. Being these seeds are small, you want to basically just barely cover those seeds to gain that maximum germination rate. So let's go on to the next step, being we've got them set. Your goal now is to put them in a place with good morning light. And what I've done for myself is I put them indoors at a window that gets about an hour to 2 hours of morning light. And let's go in and check out our progress from exactly what we've just demonstrated about 3 weeks ago. So let's go and see those results. Follow me. So here we are now at that window, which basically is facing in the east direction. So in the morning, these plants that I've got behind here are getting their 1 to 2 hours of morning light. Nothing too extreme. The goal is to avoid the afternoon excessive sun rays and the hotter rays of the later afternoon. So that's the reason I put them here in the east window. And you can see the pumpkins, as well as over here is one of the sunflowers that has so far germinated. And I'm going to show you another one that's germinated outside. So we're going to continue our project that way. What I'm going to do now is take this, and we're going to, actually we'll take the double one, and let's work on transplanting it now into a larger container. So let's get back outside. Follow me. So here we are now. What we're going to do first is we're going to transplant this California native sunflower, which pretty much germinated on its own within this container of what once supported a frangipani, as you can see, also known as the plumeria. As you can see, it's broken. The top half of it is right here, and it used to basically rest on that wall right behind that larger plumeria that you see in that container over there. Right over the wall was where this container was resting when during one of the Santa Ana winds, it blew off the wall, broke in half. And let me share with you, I wish that water didn't get in there, but I'm hoping you can see what's happened within. If you can come in a little closer, I'm just trying to dry it out from the water that went in. But if you can take a look at the center, make sure you can get all of that. If you can come in, you can actually see, if I can go with my scissors and point out that there's a lot of holes that are being created, whether it's naturally or there's some insects that are boring their way into this dead wood. And as you can see, there's basically a little bit of dieback that's happening. The plant is still green and there's still some strength, within the wood, and it's even got roots down below, but it just hasn't grown yet as the weather is still too cool for it to encourage and push that new shoots and growth from the side of the trunk. So I do expect this to grow, but all of this exposed surfaces we're going to coat real quick with this product over here, being the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard. It's protection against summer sunburn, insects, and rodents, and it gets that protection from insects with all of these oils that are within it, including castor, cinnamon, cloves, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. But what we're going to do real quick, and we're going to end up using this product for the transplant as well. I'm just basically going to take my brush on, and I'm going to fill in that entire cavity to prevent any further disease from entering this plumeria. So you can see I've completely coated it. And what I can also do, as one of the benefits, is it doesn't have a supporting upper branches, it doesn't have a supporting canopy above it to basically shade and cool the lower trunk. So we can actually go with the product and cool the entire tree trunk from too much exposure of light. And that can cause sunburn just as it will to your own skin. So we're going to coat that, and we're doing it here in the color white. It's also available in colors brown and green as well. And as you can see here with the white solution, it's also registered material for use in organic agriculture. The colors brown and green are still pending. And then there's a whitewash formula that's basically an oil-free version of the same product as well. So we've now just basically coated it, and once the warmer weather of spring comes, these are just some hairs from the brush, but once the warmer spring weather comes, the buds will push right through the sides, as this is a non-latex based product, and again, being all natural and organic, the buds and the growth will happen naturally as it otherwise would. What we're now going to do is just basically take the California native sunflower. We're going to basically remove as many of the roots as we can from the container. The goal is to capture about 80% of the roots, and then we're pulling it out, and you can see we've now got a nice amount of soil around the majority of the root ball. What we're going to do is now prepare the soil mix. I'm just going to put that on the side real quick while we then prepare the soil mix that's going to go in this container. And what I have over here is I prepared a mix, 1/3, hoping to get some more light so you can see this, but 1/3 perlite, 1/3 sphagnum moss. You can also use coconut coir, which is the more environmentally preferred choice. And then there's vermiculite. And this is now the first time that we're going to be using something that is organic, and I'm using organic in the sense that something that's derived of living and that can break down, whereas the perlite and vermiculite do not necessarily break down, or if they do, it's just not quite as fast as the organic matter. Things that are derived from living things, again, perlite, vermiculite are derived from inorganic materials. Again, we just talked about vermiculite being derived from volcanic rock that's been overheated and puffed to basically create that product. What we're going to do is just basically take these three, and again, I just want to emphasize that when seeding it, I prefer to use the vermiculite perlite, which doesn't have any organic within it. And now that we're graduating it, we're adding some organic material to that. So now we're going to add some soil to the bottom of the container. The reason I uprooted the plant in advance was so I know how high to basically build up the soil. I'm going to tap on it gently to make sure I remove any air pockets that are within it. And now we're going to install and plant the plant like so. And we're going to add some more soil all the way around it. And more. Again, we're adding some gentle pressure around the roots to remove any potential air pockets that may exist, that may also dry out the roots. And then we're going to water it like so. I'm going to wait for that to settle, and then we'll add some more water. And let that settle, and then we'll add some more water. The goal is to make sure that you soak the entire soil medium, so it's basically very well watered, especially initially. And we're going to water this pretty much every other day for that first week or two as it gets established in this new container. And as it gets about another month older, we'll plant it directly in the ground. And when it comes to native plants, you don't need to improve the soil as you would your other fruit trees and vegetables, as again, they're native. They're used to growing on their own naturally in that soil environment. So you don't need to do something that special in regards to fertilizer care, pest control care, and all these other things. The goal is to allow your native plants to grow naturally. I've noticed that the plant can also benefit from being staked, so I brought with me here a stake. We're gonna support it like so. So I've just basically taken a small piece of bamboo. I'm gonna try to keep this in light as much as I can. What I'm gonna do now is basically go with my twine, and you'll notice that whenever I support any fruit tree, any vegetable, and in this case we're doing our sunflower, you'll notice that I'm putting the tie against the stake and not against the plants, because as the plant is gonna grow and expand, we don't want to constrict any of that growth. So now I've got that tie against the stake. We'll wrap it around the plant to give it some support. And we're going to leave a little bit of space between the stake and the plant. And we're going to monitor it every few weeks to make sure that we're also not constricting the growth. And once it gets established and it grows and it straightens itself up, we may even need to put up another tie as it gets taller. But as it gains strength, you're going to want to remove all of this support and basically maybe even devise something a little bit bigger if it still needs support. But and again, I regularly prune even my native plants to increase the vigor, control the size and shape. And one of the last things we're going to do is we're going to go with the Ivory Organics the 3-in-1 Plant Guard. And this here is the ready-to-use spray, protection against damaging, again, sunburn, insects, and rodents. And the goal is, if you take a look, the goal is to spray the plant. If you can come in a little closer, you may notice that it's got a little bit of that, like a sunblock, a white light film. What that's going to do is help minimize the sun stress. It also has those oils in there to help also repel a lot of insects as it gains its strength and gets established, so that it basically makes it. The goal is, to initially get it off. I mean, this is when the plants have the highest mortality rates, which is at the beginning. But once they get established and they're off to a good start, we're going to allow all these plants to grow naturally without any help. And the goal is, hopefully they do attract aphids, hopefully they do attract the praying mantis, and they attract the ladybugs, and they attract the spiders, and they attract the bees, and they're going to attract a lot of nature into your garden that'll ultimately benefit everything else that's in your garden. So, so that's the goal with your California native plants. And let's basically do the same thing real quick with the pumpkin as well, now that we just did the sunflower. I've got a larger container here for the pumpkin, and here we are now with our soil medium. Just going to fill that up like so. And then we're just going to take our pumpkin plant. You can take a look at all of that root growth that's within there. Check that out. It's even starting to come out of the bottom as well. So this is a good time to get it out of the container. I know for our weather here, it's still a little bit too cold. See all that vermiculite? So now we're going to graduate into a vermiculite, perlite, and that moss mix. So we're going to put that in. You'll notice that I kind of detangled some of these roots so that they don't continue growing in a coil fashion. Instead, they continue to grow out, which will create a stronger and healthier plant. And there we go. We'll add some more water. And make sure at this point you soak it. And the goal is every other day you can add water for that first week or two as it gets reestablished in its new home. And again, like we did with the sunflower, we're going to go with our 3-in-1. You can see a lot of your again, your pumpkins are in the squash family, your tomatoes, your ornamental flowers, pretty much your roses, your fruit trees, everything else that you install. You'll notice at the beginning, even on a day that's not that hot like today, if we wait another few minutes, maybe a half an hour to an hour, a lot of these plants will begin to wilt. The goal is to minimize that stress by giving it a coat of the Ivory Organics, and what that's going to do is reflect some of that excess heat and create a much cooler and lighter plant. It would be too tedious, and there is benefit, and you can do a lot of research on this, and it's even on the ivoryorganics.com website about the benefits of whitewashing your fruit trees upon installation, which is coating the lower branches and tree trunk to basically give it that insulation from the extremes of the summer sun as well as winter sun scald. But this would be too tedious to basically go with a brush and coat each one of these stems. There is benefit, and I also have noticed that some people that are dealing with squash beetles have achieved great success in actually applying and brushing on the Ivory Organics onto those thicker stems. But at this point, it would be too tedious to go in there and paint every single one of those stems. Hence, the benefits of using the product as a spray. So we'll just spray that on, and I'm hoping the video captures the fact that we've got a nice light white film. The sun's going down pretty quick, being that we're still in February. I've been inching my way from that wall forward, just trying to capture some light before this day ends. Anyways, I hope you found this video informative and educational, and if so, be sure to like it, and most importantly, by subscribing below, you'll be connected to this and all of our other educational gardening videos. Thanks again for watching, and happy gardening.